Let's pretend you get offered an infinite life. Let's say that no matter what you do, you will never roll off into some distant horizon. Would you want that? At first, maybe yes, out of some knee-jerk naivete. I know, at least in my case, this offer would be instantly attractive. I could go about my life with no end in sight. I could go all the places I wanted to, learn all the things that interested me, do all the things I wanted to do. Or would I? If we break down the imaginary layers posed by this particular thought experiment and dive deeper, we'll find that we have dug up a fate much worse than death of a normal, physical kind, as we would instead succumb to a death of the soul and spirit. The offer shouldn't be, you will have an infinite life, as much as it shouldn't be, you will have a fulfilling life. I simply cannot believe that an infinite life is synonymous with fulfillment. Instead, an infinite life should be synonymous with the opposite. We are not designed to be unlimited. Give us power and we will do nothing good. Give us desperation and we will do everything we can to achieve power. This is why I and 99% of other students will wait until the last possible moment to do a task. This is why it took me 10 months to get this video out. Work, especially creative work, requires limitation. It is the catalyst that allows it to live. Without it, progress dies. I know what I'm saying has no doubt been thought of by almost everyone watching this video, but I'm just trying to articulate those same thoughts and set a scene. What some may fail to see, however, is the hidden crux of this whole infinite life offer. That being, if we accept, it is extremely likely we will never do anything with ourselves. Our night before the deadline will never come, so why, while our human condition is intact at least, should we do anything? There will always be a tomorrow, and all the while, ennui is building within ourselves, slowly chipping away at our soul. This is why this seemingly divine offer is so terrifying. Now, of course, I don't believe that nowadays all we feel is sad and melancholic. Of course, there's a lot of times where we feel positive and satisfied. Maybe after a workout or finishing a long day at work, for example. But I find I can't ignore the general sense that society on the whole is feeling the pressure of this dissatisfaction problem. If you don't agree with me in thinking this, great, it's highly likely I could be wrong, but I hope you'll let me make my case. And if you do agree with me, if you do believe that there is an issue within today's people, I also hope that you'll let me make my case.
Well, what I feel very strongly is that we mustn't be caught by surprise by our own advancing technology. This has happened again and again in history, but technology has advanced and this changes social conditions, and suddenly people have found themselves in a situation which they didn't foresee and doing all sorts of things they didn't really want to do.
Well, now, what do you mean? Do you mean that we develop our television but we don't know how to use it correctly? Is that the point that you're making?
Well, at present the television, I think, is being used quite harmlessly. It's being used, I think, I would feel it's being used too much to distract everybody all the time.
Brave New World is one of my favourite dystopian stories I've read. Throughout it, it constantly references a drug called soma, the effect of which being a numbing of the mind and undeserved euphoria, which has ruined the fictional population's desire and ambition, all to keep them tolerable slaves to the world state they live in. As the reader, we follow John, a savage born out of a reservation camp, who just escaped and is now learning the ways of life outside his home/cage. These reservation camps being no more than museums to show the poverty before the revolution of the one state, another branch of propaganda. However, poverty is a strong word. These people have culture, traditions and actual human relationships, all of which being non-existent in the world state. Eventually John goes to visit his mother to see if she is reintegrating into the society that abandoned her, as although they escaped together, Linda grew up in the world state and was left at the camp by John's father years prior, leading her to become a social recluse at the camp because she did not accept their culture. But she has an uncontrollable addiction to soma. She's shallow, helpless, her house is a mess. It is perceived to the reader that she would rather have a delivery of soma arrive at her doorstep than her own son. John is confused. He doesn't know what to do with his mother, who he loves, but cannot help but be repulsed by at the same time. However, at the same time, she is repulsed by him, as she is the only mother in existence. I forgot to mention that in Brave New World, children are artificially created and are cared for by the system rather than a family, but that's a topic for another day. Linda has to constantly battle with the fact that she's the only mother in existence, as she was taught to find mothering disgusting, but at the same time, deep down she loves John. Clearly society has let down Linda in more ways than just Soma, and if you ever decide to read the story, you'll find that statement increasingly true. An effective way to see what weighs heavy on someone's mind is to ask them what they think the future will look like. And through Brave New World and through Soma, we can see that its author Aldous Huxley knew that something was coming that would kill ambition and desire in the average person, turning us each into our own version of Linda. However, instead of a small two-size pill, we have a handheld device that takes a different approach but reaches the same result. However, Brave New World wasn't the only cautionary tale trying to warn us about the dangers of dissatisfaction. You can qualify two main takeaways from WALL-E. One being that we shouldn't damage our environment to such an extent where the only solution is a mass exodus of the planet, but instead, preferably fix it a little sooner than that. And the second being that we should never let ourselves get comfortable. Never let ourselves fall to having nothing to do and no ambition to do anything. This is a clear, fictitious example of boredom leading to dissatisfaction. WALL-E is a kids' movie, but the subtle undertones of dissatisfaction throughout the residence of the Axiom is clear. The Axiom being the galactic cruise ship that has been carrying the remains of humanity for the last 700 years. The boredom is clear. From mindless consumerism going from red jumpsuits to blue jumpsuits on a whim, to an addiction to short-sighted comforts. The movie is fake, but the problems can very quickly become a reality. One of the more notable lines in the film is when the captain, after fighting the evil ship AI, Al, shouted disgruntledly that nothing has changed in over 700 years on board. It's a kids' movie, but that angered realization from the captain is a very adult insight. But is WALL-E unique for this? Kids' movies have always been putting in jokes and quips for the knowing parents watching the film and making sure they're staying awake and enjoying the film as much as the kids are. So why wouldn't they put in some themes and nuance, hinting at the beliefs of those in the writer's room? Just like how, with other kids' movies, like The Lorax being a cry for help on behalf of the environment. So, as crazy as it sounds, I believe that WALL-E is trying to tell us something about the dangers of comfort, the problems with a stress-free life. And it's all packed into the box of a children's movie. With all that said, I feel like I'd be missing something if I didn't put a slight asterisk at the end. Despite the value WALL-E provides and the thought experiment it gives, we have to look at the hypocrisy of a movie that denotes big corporations while at the same time being made in a partnership between Disney and Pixar, two massive corporations, one of which becoming the namesake for a place that commercializes entertainment through amusement parks and other things. It's hard to get more corporate than Disney, but at the same time, I don't think there should be a reason that we should shy away from using WALL-E as a tool to be critical of big corporations. Just have to get that out of the way. The statistics show that at no other point in history have we had as much free time as we do now. That's a good thing, of course, but it needs balance. Now, pair our increased leisure time with our increasing addiction to short-term comforts. I don't think there's a more dangerous combination to our average everyday existence. Not only do we have more leisure time, but we're doing nothing with that leisure time. Originally, when I started writing this video, I wanted to go into the discussion of if we as a society are heading towards a dystopia. I would have referenced government spying, media control, and more conspiracy theories than anyone would have liked to listen to. But while writing that extremely eclectic first draft, I realised what I actually wanted to talk about was something much more simple, much more fundamental to human beings. What I wanted to do was take a look at the metaphorical soul, or conscience, and how we are abusing it with excessive scrolling and petty drama. I also wanted to look at the lack of authenticity in today's world. The philosopher and well-known technophobe Martin Heidegger's thoughts on the problem are that we have become too addicted to insignificant things. he called this small b being. This being things like phones and expensive clothes. But the real problem is, the real point of concern is the lack of focus on its big brother, capital B being. This is conducive of authenticity and chasing your true self. Dasein is what Heidegger coined for this way of thinking. Heidegger never really explained what Dasein is, but we can assume it means something close to authentic existence. Despite dying in 1976, he was well aware of the dangers of technology. He believed it only offered a pseudo-comfort and distracted us from seeking true, authentic living. Although he never gave a clear path on how to achieve this Dasein, this authentic existence, he constantly contended that chasing it is better than being addicted to the fake comforts of technology. And I tend to agree with the guy. Nearly 50 years on, and technology has never offered more pseudo-comforts. However, at the same time, I am grateful for technology as a tool for learning, music, entertainment, and a near endless list of other things. I had to go through nearly 2 years of school almost completely through technology for some reason. However, we have become accustomed to it. It has overstimulated our minds, leading to a skyrocket rise in dissatisfaction. Maybe with all this pseudo-comfort, we are almost starting to crave authenticity. I know leaving you with chase authenticity feels like you're getting a big question while only being left with little answers, but I think we all know how we can at least begin to start chasing authenticity, chasing Dasein. We just have to think about it and stop being distracted from distraction by distraction. And action. Okay. All to keep them tolerable slaves to the world they live. I can't smile during that. I can't be saying tolerable slaves and like with a big smirk on my face. Linda has to constantly battle with the fact that she's the only mother in existence, while at this, oh god, she's the only mother in existence since her conditioning. No.
Oh my god.
The squeakiest bricks in existence. Oh my god. Taking away on our soul. This is why this seemingly divine offer is so terrifying. I did not like that last bit. Fucking